Alright, this is our first experiment, and what we're going to do is create two separate ads, but they're pretty much the same ad, so we're keeping all the variables the same and consistent, so we know that any change between the two is most likely due to the size, which is the one thing that will be different between the two. We're going to make a smaller image size, and then we'll make a larger image size in these ads, and then run them using the same parameters and see if there's any difference. So we'll test that theory out, that principle that larger ads work better. So go ahead and open up Photoshop, and if you've never used Photoshop before, that's okay. Or if you're using another image editing program, that's fine as well. Other image editing programs, you can resize images too. So if you open adventure.jpg from the support files, and if you go in Photoshop and go to image and then image size, we'll see that this image here is 3000 pixels by 2000 pixels by 300 pixels per inch. So what that means is it's, the width, the height, that's how many pixels there are, but the pixels per inch, this is really meant for print at 300. We don't really need that. We could downsize it to 72, but we're going to do that with a preset. If we tried to resize an image just by, changing it there, it would keep the same width to height ratio. And we need to look at the Facebook advertising guidelines, which I linked to in the previous lecture, just so we have that. And you'll see that if we're going to link to a website, which is what we'll be doing in this example, and you don't have to do this part unless you have your own Facebook page already, and you can use that and share the results if you want, either on your blog or in the course. For this, we're going to do 1200 pixels wide by 628 pixels tall. And of course, we can't have more than 20% text. We're not going to have any text in this example, but here are some just guidelines as far as image size. I'll link to that. And then also advertising policies. We don't want more than 20% text. That's not allowed on Facebook ads, okay? So what we need to do is go to the crop tool in Photoshop. Just go to File, Open, and open adventure.jpg if you don't have that open already. Now we have the Tools panel here. If you don't see that, just go to Window and then Tools. Make sure that's checked. And also it's good to have the Layers panel open. So go to Window, then Layers, make sure that's checked. So those are two good panels to have. And also the Options panel up at the top. So with the crop tool here, we want to set a preset up at the top. So the first one's the width. So if we go back to our links here, remember it is 1200 by 628. So let's make that 1200. Be sure to type in px. If it's IN for inches, it's going to be huge files, so we want to make sure it's 1200 px. And then if we remember, it's 628. All right, then we'll do 72 pixels per inch. So it gives us this preset width to height ratio here, and it is going to crop out part of the page. So we can click and drag up, click and drag down, whatever we want to emphasize here. So I think for this one, we'll do something like this to have a lot of the sky in there. And then you can double click anywhere inside this area or just press this check mark up there, either way, or press enter. And notice it looks smaller, but we're actually at 25%. If you look up here where it says 25% next to the file name, our view is at 25%. So you can press the control button on a PC or a command button on a Mac and just press the plus button and that'll zoom in, and the minus will zoom out. Or you can go to view and then you can go to 100%, that'll go to 100% view. So it won't look this large on the Facebook page. It's just a larger image that will then be fit in that area for the Facebook ad. So I'm going to press Command or Control minus and zoom out a little bit just so we can see that. And so we could save this, but I think for this, let's customize it a little bit. A lot of the support files are photos I took, but this one's actually a free stock photo. So you might have other ads that have the same photos. So to stand out, we can add some effects. So just really quickly, I'm going to add a new layer. So press the new layer icon on the bottom of the layers panel. And then let's select the pen tool over here, set the stroke to 1 point and just regular stroke there, and I'm going to set it to white. All right, and I'm just going to click and then click and click. So I'm going to add just some simple lines here that go next to each other just to add a little bit of interest and kind of stylizing to it. Something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Just to add a little bit of interest to it. There's a lot of different things you can do. We could also add a new layer and use the rectangle tool here And maybe we can add some color up here in the left-hand corner to fill that space up. So what I'll do for the foreground color, let's just do some orange. And I'm going to create a new layer because I'm actually just creating pixels instead of a shape, as I won't need to resize it to make it large. I'm going to hold Shift for a perfect square like that. And then I would press Alt on the PC or Option on the Mac and click and drag that over. So we know it's the same exact width and height. I'm going to hold down Alt on the PC or Option on the Mac again, click and drag over. It does those smart guides, so these are 18 pixels apart perfectly. And we want to make these a little bit different color. So maybe for this one, we go to Layer, Layer Style, and we can go, there's many different ways to do this, but we'll go to Color Overlay, and then maybe color this some kind of blue. Another way to do this, if you just hold down Control on the PC or Option on the Mac and click this layer here, and these are all the layers on the Layers panel, and we can choose a different foreground color. And then press Alt Backspace on the PC or Option Delete on the Mac. And so we'll do that same exact thing here. So Controller Command, click this one, and I'm going to select a fourth color here. Alt Backspace or Option Delete. Add a little bit of color to it, just add some interest, customization to it. And so we'll save this. So I'm going to go to File, Save, and save it as a JPEG or a PNG file for our ad. I'll save this as JPEG, and I'll call it, so I'm calling it Facebook Larger Ad, just so I know which one it is. I'm going to save that as a JPEG, make sure it's on 12 for maximum, for quality. And so we're going to save this same exact file, but we're going to resize it. So I'm going to go to Image, Image Size. I'm just going to make it smaller. I'm actually make it 400 pixels, and Constrained Proportions is checked here. So the height changed to the appropriate value compared to the width. So if I do that, they'll move together, right? So make sure that's selected so we're not distorting it. So this is going to be 400 by 209, so it's a little bit smaller. And one thing that might happen, though, it might stretch it out just to the size on the news feed. So what we can do is change the dimensions, actually. So this will change some of the variables, but we do need to make sure it will be smaller displayed on the page. So I'm going to just hit clear here. I'm actually crop out part of it, something like that. It'll actually have the rule of thirds going on, but we'll do something like that just so we know that it's a smaller image. All right, so I'm going to call this, I'm going to save this as a JPEG and call this Facebook Smaller Ad. All right, so we have our two files here. Next, we're going to actually launch these as two Facebook ads. All right, if you want to follow along with this part and you don't have a page, just click in the upper right-hand corner when you're signed into Facebook and go to Create Page. And from there, you can set up your page for your brand or your website or business, organization, or so on. Once you've set that up and entered all the information in, it should show up here under Your Pages. So I'm going to go to Good Creative Academy. And now I'm going to actually post. Now I can go through Facebook ads, of course. I can just set it up that way, or I can post it and boost. So I can just post it right here if I want and then boost it, which is what I'm going to do this time. But I'll show you in another tutorial how to just sign into Facebook ads and launch it from there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and upload. I'm going to make a post here, add a photo, and I'm going to use larger ad for this first one that's going to upload. And I'm just going to link to a page on my site about one of my courses. We're using the large photo in this one, remember? So I'm just going to type in some text. Alright, so I've learned Photoshop in a free online course, and then Master Graphic Design, Logo Design, more details. Okay, then I link to my website. Now, so that's the text. So they won't be clicking on the image to go to the site. They're actually going to have to click on this link down here, okay, for these posts. So we'll go ahead and hit Publish, and there's our large image, okay. I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to add photos, smaller ad, same exact text, so that variable's the same, and hit Publish as well. So there's a little bit smaller. So you see the two right here. We got this one that's large, and then this one that's small. Okay, so this is testing that theory. To get a larger sample size, though, I'm actually going to boost these. So I'm going to hit Boost Post. And instead of people who like their page and their friends. I'm going to do targeting. I'm going to create a new audience. I do these countries, that's fine. I'm going to target more, let's say 18 to 50. And then for interest, I'm going to put graphic design, put that in. I'm just going to call this graphic design Western countries, and I'll hit save. And total budget, I actually want to do this just for 7 days and $10 per day. That's fine. It's not going to be a huge sample size. It's going to be 4,600 to 12,000 people reach per day for 7 days. Now, ideally, we'd run it for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll do this smaller sample size. That should be fine. So we'll have total budget 75 in a week. Run this ad till April 26th. So that'll be exactly a week from today. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and press boost. All right, then I'll hit close. And I'm also going to boost this one up here. So boost that. Graphic design Western countries, same thing. And I'm going to do 7 days at the same price, 75. And I'm going to hit boost. So these are both boosted, and we will see you in 1 week with the results. We'll see if this one got more clicks or this one got more clicks, which is a slightly larger photo. Thanks. All right, welcome back. It's a little over a week later, and I have the results from this first experiment, and this does back up the academic findings, those quantitative studies about larger ads having more of an impact. So on here you can see this one that's a little bit smaller, that only takes up part of the area there, has only 1 share, all right? And it's got 2 comments. I think they might be spam comments because I click on it, doesn't show up. But the next one has 13 shares and then 5 comments, same kind of thing. Now, this is vital. Now, the larger one does have 74, 75, 76 likes, while the smaller one had more likes, 111 likes. But if we look at in the ads manager, we'll see that we actually got more engagement overall with the larger one. And this is key, the 13 shares. So 13 people shared this. So we're not only paying to serve this ad to people, but they're also sharing it to their friends. And this one only had 1 share. So that's why we have 18,231 people seeing this one, which is the larger ad at the default Facebook suggested size. And then this one only has 11,251. Still a lot, but this one has a lot more. And we can look at those shares as the reasoning, okay? So that backs it up. Let's go ahead and look at it in the ads manager. We'll see this is that top one here. And this one kind of had a bias, to be honest. This top one is closer to the top. I have 1 post above this, but so it actually is a little bit biased toward this small one, but still, this larger one got more shares and a higher reach overall and higher engagement. So this first one, 218 post engagements, and then 11,251 people reached. And the cost per result, we can see down here on average is 34 cents. If we look at the other one, we've got more engagement, 256 post engagements, and then a reach of 17,857. And then the cost is lower per engagement. Why is that? Well, people are sharing this one a lot more than the other one. So you're getting more of a reach, and we're getting more people seeing our ad for the same amount of money. So we're thinking about engagement, any kind of interaction with the ad. So a click on it, a share, a comment, a like, and so on. We're getting a lot more on the larger ad, but we're getting way more shares on the larger ad. 13 to 1 is a pretty big ratio for our larger one. So this backs up those quantitative studies, so that's pretty interesting. So just a quick summary, the smaller ad, the smaller image, got 11,251 people reached, while the larger ad reached 18,231 people. We can safely assume that's because of the shares, the 13 shares on the larger ad and only 1 share on the smaller one. Now the smaller one got 111 likes and the larger ad got 76 likes, but the larger ad was served to a lot more people. So it had 256 overall engagements on the larger ad and 218 engagements on the smaller ad. And so on average, it was 34 cents per post engagement on the smaller ad and 29 cents per post engagement on the larger ad. And I have the results for a lot of the other experiments throughout this course that we're going to go over, so I'm really excited to share them with you. whether it be how saturation, using specific colors, using a call to action or not, and other variables contribute to more engagement on various social media, as well as digital marketing in general. So thanks, and we'll see you in the next lesson.